Back to when we talk about deuterium in oils, that's seed oils like canola, all the vegetable oils, rapeseed oil, all those. Yep. Is that the oil contain heavy water, or is it generated when DO through the? No. This is actually caused in the manufacturing process. It goes through an oil refinery. So what happens is you get the loss of certain fluids, which are much lower in deuterium. So in plants, the actual plant itself, the plant fat, that's actually lower in deuterium. So what happens is when they extract it through an extract press, they actually remove a lot of the low deuterium content in the water content. And what's left behind is the oil part. The consequence of that is that plant now has a much higher concentration, and then it goes through solvents and a whole lot of other things, and it actually concentrates even more deuterium because they use heavy water in some of the processing and all that, tap water and stuff like that. And it just, and then when they get rid of the actual fluids, they lose more 1H and they retain more of the H or the 2H, which is deuterium, in the solution that is left over. And so processing it this way, in a number of different processes, it just increases the content of deuterium, and it can push it right up to 255 parts per million, depending on the processing. Now, some can be slightly below 200, like 180, and some can be all the way up to 255, depending on the level of processing that has actually happened to the vegetable oil. And at that rate, it's double that of sugar. And at that rate, if it gets at that concentration, your own body cannot deplete it at sufficient enough rate. There's not enough, the enzymatic pathways to remove and lower deuterium levels has a rate limiting level, a certain level. Beyond that level, once you exceed that level, the safe level is about 100, at 130. Anything at 130 or below, it's not going to cause, the body can cope with that. Periodically, slightly above 130, the body can cope with small amounts. If it's basically about 30% or 40% of your diet, it can sort of cope with that. Once it gets up to, well over 50%, even at those higher amounts, like in the 140, 150 and all that, then it starts causing some problems. But even then, it's not causing massive problems, some problems to the mitochondria, and impeding your energy and damaging the ATP ATPase that actually produce the energy, the ATP. So when you get to beyond the sort of 200 odd mark, forget it. Those rates, and it becomes like seed oils now, like 40% of your diet for most people that are eating junk food. We're talking about massive load that cannot be. This is why people are sustaining massive mitochondrial damage, and why we will end up, if we continue on this rate, with 1 in 3 people having cancer. Because they'll have so much mitochondrial damage, the body will reactivate an old ancient pathway for survival, the cells, which will upregulate oncogenes and bring back a certain fermentation, and will tell the Krebs cycle to go in reverse and drag in more deuterium, which will accelerate the damage, but also create a whole lot of lactate, which it can ferment to create energy in the primitive way that it used to do before oxygen existed on this planet. It's an old program, and it works, and it just reverts back for survival purposes. The cell, we don't want the cell doing that by keeping the mitochondria happy and healthy by keeping the deuterium levels down. So no, it doesn't happen through it. It's the industrial process that actually adds the deuterium, concentrates the deuterium in the stuff. Yep. So